Oh, hello there. Welcome, everybody, to the Bitchuation Room podcast live stream. So good to have you here once again on a Sunday evening. Weekends are still ruined for me in this house. In this house, we don't believe in weekends. In this house, we believe Cardi B is God, the vaccine works, and weekends are not real. No, what is up, everybody? Thank you so much for being here. I hope you are doing well. I hope you're staying safe. I hope you are socially distanced, but not emotionally distanced, and just learning how to roll with all the punches of this, slow moving apocalyptic zombie film that we seem to find ourselves in. We have such a good show for you today. Comedian and labor organizer Nato Green is here for the hour, as well as an organizer with Common Defense, which is a group that works on the behalf of veterans that are working to stop forever wars. Esti Lamonaca is here, or Lamonaca. There you go. Esti Lamonaca is here. I know my Italian last names. I know them very well. And so I'm so excited to talk to them. And I have a few announcements. Super, super exciting stuff. One is that I hope you all listen to the bonus episode, the interview that I did with Yohan Grillo, who is a journalist who writes all about the drug war throughout Central America, Latin America, and the Caribbean, and just has a book out about the massive amounts of guns that flow into through the southern border from the United States and gun manufacturers into Central and South America. And just breaking, the country of Mexico decided to sue a gun manufacturer in Chicago over specifically that trafficking, over the fact that all of those guns are leading to massive amounts of violence, in the same way that survivors and family and friends of people who have been killed by gun violence in the United States, whether in mass shootings or elsewise, are also taking it upon themselves to sue gun manufacturers. So that was an amazing interview. I hope you guys listened to it. For those who are patrons, you guys got early access to those episodes, and that will continue to happen as we do more bonus episodes. For all the patrons, you get early access. You can get live access, and I look forward to your questions live. And speaking of live and very safe COVID things, we're going to be doing a live show of the Bitchuation Room in Portland on Thursday, September 2nd, which is the Thursday before Labor Day weekend. So if you're in Portland or the Seattle, Portland, Pacific Northwest area, hey, why don't you come on out? Why don't you come out? It's on September 2nd, 8 p.m. at the Alberta Abbey, which I believe is a venue. I think it is a venue. It is indoors. We're checking Vax cards. We're going to be very, very safe. We're going to encourage mask wearing. It'll be myself. Mr. Matt Lieb is going to be with me, as well as a local Portland BLM activist and an editor of a hip-hop magazine up there. Max Smith is going to be joining us. So definitely stay tuned for ticket links. I don't have it yet, but it's coming out. Whatevs. And guys, if you're here on YouTube, make sure to press that like button right now. And ring the bell. Or when you ring the bell, it'll let you know when I go live. That's what happens. And only a few of you have rung that bell. So ring it right now. And if you're on Twitch, sup? Good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you all for being a sponsor of this show. Like I said, I don't have any bizarre tinctures or beet juices that claim COVID antibodies to sponsor this podcast, okay? I don't have any bizarre granola company made in, I don't know, like Vermont, probably Vermont, I don't know, in someone's basement. I don't have any moonshine to sell on this show. This show is supported by you all, and for that, you get extra content. You get access to merchandise, which, yes, again, is forthcoming. I will have a big announcement very, very, very soon. And so I want to thank everybody who's been a patron. And if you're not a patron, you can always donate TBR-Live on Venmo. I can't speak. TBR Live on Cash App. So for y'all out there, this is the fart song. Thank you so much to all of the new patrons. For $10 or more, you get the shout out. Max C, Michael M, Theodore C, T Gordon M. Thank you, Kim J, for upping your pledge. And Little Mac, thank you so much for re-entering the innermost cabal of the Frantifa. And thank you to the big tippers. Too much garlic. Karen K, Anna M, Katrina B, Joey V, Bernard R. Thank you so much. And to all the Twitch subs, not a lot of them, but the only one that matters is JoJo Says ACAB. Thank you guys all so much. Guys, patreon.com/Bitchuation Room. Become a patron. Get access to all that stuff. And our monthly AMAs. We had a great one last month. Wonderful. Great. And with that very, very adult intro to this podcast, let's get into what we're bitching about. This is What Are You Bitching About? I did not know what I was going to bitch about today, but I have decided that all of you fucking capitalist pigs deserve to die in a fire of your own making. Because the IPCC report is coming out tomorrow, and Greta is angry. Fucking hell, you guys. The IPCC report, I'm dropping this, is out tomorrow. That is the Intergovernmental Panel of Climate Change, which is like the world's conscious. It's like the angel on our shoulder going, psst, hey, you're fucking up. And it's about 230 scientists. They put out reports every 7 years, and they sort of give us updates, on like the apocalypse and how quickly it is approaching. And look, I know people are waiting for the Kanye West album to drop. I know people are waiting for Lil Nas X's album to drop. I'm waiting on Cardi's new album to drop. But the real ones, they're waiting on the IPCC report to drop, which is coming probably when the podcast listeners listen to this and then give the podcast 5 stars. It's coming on Monday. And I'm just going to go ahead and guess it's going to be bad. Just going out on a limb. Like, my guess is it's bad. My guess is we haven't done good things in the last 7 years, and that since signing the Paris Climate Accord, which we then backed out of, but then are back in and whatever, we need like 5 more Paris Climate Accords, but like ones that actually, enact consequences on people, because it's really more of, like a gentleman's agreement. Hey, let's try not to die. Cool. Keep making money? Yeah. So obviously we're at a time right now, it's like, of course, the hottest summer since the last summer, which was the hottest summer since the last hottest summer. Greece is completely on fire right now. So is California. You've got the Dixie Fire burning, one of the largest fires in California. The world is a tinderbox right now. Not to mention, entire cities in Europe being swept away by massive torrential floods. And I'm bitching about the fact that you cannot argue with this science, and that we've seen how COVID shows us, right? That this is like a dress rehearsal for climate change. We're fucking up. We're definitely screwing it up, but it's a wake-up call, right? And just as we can't go back to the new, normal or the old normal, we can't do that with climate change either. And sadly, the IPCC is not, an armed body. I wish they were, just like, climate change RoboCops who could just commando and rappel down any presidential palace that doesn't comply with their suggestions for how to limit greenhouse gas emissions. But sadly, we don't have that force yet. We've got the American military, and who knows, maybe they have a role to play that isn't fucked up in the future. But I'm bitching about the fact that we're going to once again bring up a new generation who sees and who openly talks about as children the end of the world, right? That, we're supposed to sort of continue on as the skies darken with ash. And we can't offer new generations real concrete hope and suggestions and solutions. And then you've got centrists, and you've got Kristen Sinema and Joe Manchin, not to say anything of Republicans. Republicans are playing a role at this point. They're marionette puppets. They know exactly what their role is when it comes to calling any action on climate change socialism. Democrats know it's not socialism, right? But they still, time and again, chant down things like the Green New Deal. They still, time and again, call it too extreme and too radical. I think what we're seeing right now is too extreme and too radical. I think this weather is too extreme. And we don't have a choice, right? This is forcing us to be all become socialists. That's right. That's what we're doing. But anyway, I am bitching about the fact that like a lot of folks are not going to take this seriously, and we're just going to sort of turn our heads, turn the pages, and be like, we have 4 years to stop global warming. Okay, well, 3. Oh, cool. See, I was going to get up. I was going to do something. I'm so tired. Anyway, we've got to do a lot more. I know we have to move on. I want to find out what this gentleman is bitching about. He is my dear friend. He is a very funny stand-up comedian who is also a labor organizer. Please welcome Mr. Nato Green.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
How you doing?
Cool. I feel like, are you having the same like circular dead end conversation with more and more people about like where should we move to stay ahead of climate apocalypse? And then everywhere you can think of will be like, no, we can't move there because that's going to be swallowed by sea level rise. No, we can't move there because that's going to be swallowed by wildfires. No, we can't move there because the Gulf Stream is stopping and the ocean is going to stop turning. Oh, we can't move there because it's overrun with Nazis. Like, so you're like trying to brainstorm like where to move to get away from the apocalypse. Have you had that conversation a lot recently? Because I have.
I've definitely thought about it, where people are like, no, California's too on fire. And I'm like, I kind of feel the way here's what I'll say about California's brand of climate change.
Are you about to come out and say California could be more on fire?
It could be worse.
Yeah.
It could be more on fire. But also I'm like, I feel that way about earthquakes. Like I'd take an earthquake and a fire over a hurricane. I'm just gonna be real with you.
Interesting.
Like, hurricanes and tornadoes scare the shit out of me. I think I'm in that level of like awfulness where I'm like, let me pick the way I want to go out
That's interesting.
Because of climate change.
I am more scared of fires than hurricanes or earthquakes.
That's true. They move very fast. They really are fast. And I have a go bag, but like, you always like dig into your go bag when you're like, there's a can of soup. I'm hungry. It's lunch. So at this point I need to restock the go bag. Nato, what are you bitching about today?
Well, this is not really a bitch, but this is a good top of the show story. So I have to tell you. So
tell me.
And you'll like it because eventually it's about you. So, I'm
listening.
Yeah, welcome back. I have been working with a personal trainer. There's a guy who meets me in a park near my house twice a week. He works me out and then he stretches me in the park. And I'm not a small man. But like physically, I'm not a physically small person.
Mm-hmm.
like no one looks at me and is like, Nato's a hulking person, but no one is like, Nato's wee. So, but this guy is so much bigger than me.
We
Yeah,
like
he's wee.
NATO's we.
Nature's wee. But like if we were Russian nesting dolls and I was inside of him, there would still be like 4 more before it got to him. You know what I mean? He's that much bigger than me.
Damn.
He's real big. And so we work out in the park, and then he stretches me. And so at first I was like self-conscious about being
Stretched
like a pretzel in the park in my neighborhood where people know me. And then I was like, I don't care. This feels good. So this morning we worked out, and his wife was there. And so I was like, let me take you guys out for breakfast. That'd be nice. So we went to get breakfast near our house. And it's relevant to the story. My trainer is black. And for people who are not in San Francisco doesn't have heckin' black people. We have gentrified them out. And so we're sitting outside at the cafe, and my trainer's wife says, Nato, there's a guy at the table next to us wearing a T-shirt that has a picture of a guillotine on it, and it says, bring them back. And then my trainer's like, what the fuck, Nato? You bring me to a cafe where people are guillotining black people? What's the deal with your neighborhood? And so then I was like, oh, let me handle this. And then I turn to the guy and I go, hey, that's a killing rich people guillotine, not a killing poor people guillotine, right? And the guy goes, yeah, we're good. And then my trainer's like, okay, cool. Thank you. And then the guy goes, hey, are you NATO? And I said, yes. And he goes, I recognize your voice from the Bitchuation Room. So
that's amazing. So shout out to Guillotine Man.
Shout out to Derek, Guillotine Man. What's up, Derek? Yeah. Good to see you today. You're very handsome.
Okay. We missed this crucial detail. And then what happened?
So then the trainer walked away. Derek walked away. I got up to leave, and then some other lady was like, "This is so weird that someone would say this," but she was like, "Excuse me, I overheard your conversation. Are you on a podcast?" And I was like, "Yeah, this is San Francisco 2021. Everyone's on a podcast. Like the homeless people are on podcasts in San Francisco."
Oh yeah, it's popping.
So she was like, I want to support my neighborhood podcaster. So if Jenny tunes in from the cafe, also, what's up?
I love what this says about our neighborhood. I used to live where Nato lives, and it's just like that the woman who spoke up wasn't like, hey, how dare you talk about guillotining anyone? Okay, this is a family place. She was like, oh, are you on a podcast?
Yeah. Support the local arts. I want locavore podcasting. And so I said to my trainer, like, see, I keep telling you, you don't believe me. I'm slightly famous. Like, this guy recognized my voice. I'm famous enough that this guy recognized my voice. And he was like, yeah, but this is your own fucking neighborhood. Like, that's not go somewhere else.
He's not impressed. You got to get bulkier, and then he'll be like, "Oh, okay, I see you."
Yeah,
he'll finally respect you. I love that. I love that it's not bitching about anything. It's just a fun story.
A fun story about a fan of the podcast.
Fuck yeah, dude! They're out there
recognizing this sweet, deep Nato Green voice that's blowing out your levels right now.
Don't ever want to hear that phraseology again. But a question for you: did you ask him about the fart song? Were you like, you into the fart song? You not into the fart song? It divides a lot of people.
It's polarizing.
It's polarizing. That's the word.
No, I didn't ask him about the fart song.
Okay, next time ask him. This is actually really funny. I'm sorry, we have to move on. But the fart song was criticized by a mother, I believe, who then apologized for criticizing it. She was like, I'm sorry, I was just handling shit all day, like literal shit with my children. There was poo on the ground. There was poo in the diapers. There was poo everywhere. I was cleaning lots of poo, just poop everywhere all the time. And then I heard the fart song and I couldn't take it anymore. And I was like, girl, like, I don't know what that's like, but I also, like, I hear you, like, if there's a reason to not want to hear farts.
And then did you, like, immediately run out and get your tubes tied?
Yeah. Yes. Immediately.
Immediately.
I can't, I want a little Greta Thunberg baby, but I also don't want a Greta Thunberg. She'd be like, "How dare you bring me into this world? Fuck you." Okay, guys,
Like it would be a nice like Asperger's Swedish baby.
Yes. Who's gonna go change the world for me? Oh my god. Woo! I'll birth a warrior child. Let's get into the week. A lot of things happened this week. After sleeping on the U.S. Capitol steps for 3 nights, Representative Cory Bush and supporters successfully pushed the Biden administration to extend the eviction moratorium 2 months, at which point she'll be leading a landless people's army to occupy the same steps. Nina Turner lost the Ohio Democratic primary race by 4,246 votes. And yet, please, centrists, go on about how it's a referendum on progressive politics. Joe Rogan suggested that the COVID vaccine causes Delta variant. To his 11 million listeners, the Dixie virus become the second largest wildfire in California history. Some people are taking anti-parasitic meds for farm animals or horse paste to ward off COVID because hydroxychloroquine is like so last year. And O.J. Simpson is switching it up and helping people stay alive by encouraging them to get vaccinated, which is really going to convince that vaccine hesitant, acquitted murderer demographic whose numbers have been honestly really lagging. For everything else, this is the week where. What was that, Nino?
I was going to say the OJ thing was going to be helpful for the true crime enthusiasts.
Yes.
And, you know, if you want to administer a vaccine, you need to have a glove on. So
this is true. I was trying to do a little bit of a like, if COVID don't quit, you must inject it. It wasn't really working. Wasn't happening, clearly. Yeah. Let's get into it. So this was the week where New York Attorney General Letitia James presented the findings of an independent report revealing that Governor Andrew Cuomo sexually harassed 11 women. This is what she had to say.
The independent investigation found that Governor Cuomo sexually harassed multiple women, many of whom were young women, by engaging in unwanted groping, kisses, hugging, and by making inappropriate comments. Further, the governor and his senior team took actions to retaliate against at least one former employee for coming forward with her story.
Okay. Very, very compelling. I do want to say that there was Attorney General James is strangely sultry. Like there's a sultriness in that presentation that was like a little off-putting. I'm not going to, it was like kisses. And I was like, okay.
Oh, tell me more.
Yeah. Wow. Ooh. Obviously it's not funny. It's not funny.
She puts the dick in indictment.
God. No, it's terrible because let's go over it. The women include a state trooper who Cuomo groped on the butt and repeatedly made sexual advances towards her, asking her why she wanted to get married and telling her that she was too old for him, even though she was in her 20s. And a former executive assistant, Brittany Comiso, who recently spoke out for the first time, who says Cuomo reached under her shirt and groped her as well. This is part of an interview that she gave, I believe, to CBS.
Why did you file that criminal complaint with the sheriff's office?
It was the right thing to do. The governor needs to be held accountable.
And just so I'm clear again, being held accountable to you means seeing the governor charged with a crime.
What he did to me was a crime. He broke the law.
Yeah. So Cuomo is now facing calls for resignation once again and an impeachment by his own state assembly. So they're giving him basically till August 13th to present any findings that he has, anything that would, attest to him not doing the harassment and the assault that he did. But he's got a little bit of that already. He's clearly called many pieces of evidence from his own history and presented them in a full-throated embrace.
Are you going to show the video? I'm so excited to see the video again.
I'm going to show the video. A full-throated, it wasn't me, slideshow that he...
Speaking of OJ, it's called If I Did It.
Yes, exactly. That he aired right after Letitia James presented those findings.
I do kiss people on the forehead. I do kiss people on the cheek. I do kiss people on the hand. I do embrace people. I do hug people, men and women. I do on occasion say, ciao Bella. On occasion, I do slip and say sweetheart or darling or honey. I do banter with people. I do tell jokes, some better than others. I am the same person in public as I am in private. You have seen me do it on TV through all my briefings and for 40 years before that. I try to put people at ease. I try to make them smile. I try to connect with them. And I try to show my appreciation and my friendship. I now understand that there are generational or cultural perspectives that frankly I hadn't fully appreciated. And I have learned from this.
I don't think you have, Governor.
So, Francesca, as an Italiano,
Italiana. Not to be super gendered about it, but
as the spokesperson of all Italian people, he's saying that this is some Italian culture. Francesca, we've been friends for a long time. I don't think you've ever you've never touched my face.
Probably not. I don't. No, I haven't.
So
I've definitely. When I greet you, I grew up your buttocks. Do we know? It's my way of saying ciao, bello. I do the. But like we just assume that was my culture.
That was a cultural thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, he's referring to being Italian when he says cultural, which is so embarrassing. And yes, as an Italian, that is embarrassing. Hashtag not all Italians, but also hashtag a lot of Italians. Like, I'm not going to be like, let's just be real. Some of them cross the line. But I do feel like this is an affront to the only pandemic Italian zaddy that lives and exists. There is only one, and his name is Antonio Fauci. Cazzo. Antonio. Cuomo doesn't have anything next to Antonio Fauci. And Fauci would never do that. No, okay. But I love the laundry list. Can we just be real? So during this whole slideshow where he's kissing all these people, he's touching all these people.
And they all look sad to be getting touched by him. They're not into it.
There's a lot of wincing and a lot of, but it's always, he's like, I kiss people on the hand. I kiss them on the cheek. I kiss them on the nipples. Like, that, the next thing, I kiss black people, white people, old people, young people.
Hikes.
As long as they're attractive to me, I will kiss them. The listing is so wrong. It's so wrong. Anyway, he just really leaned into this narrative. It was like, oh, I know what we're going to do. We're just going to go with it, bro. We're just going to, this is you.
It's like, I just feel like that there was a generation of, there were many generations of men who were able to get away with doing horrible things to women. And the culture is finally starting to change. And there's starting to be the slightest bit of accountability. And then there's a bunch of men who are suddenly like, I didn't know I couldn't do that anymore.
Yeah.
I just thought I was going to keep getting away with it.
Yep. No, exactly. And now that he is, and I think the worst part about Cuomo is the fake allyship, right? Where he initially starts off his whole press conference by saying that a young woman came to him with and spoke of her own issues with sexual assault, and he shouldn't have, been so close to her. Well, that young woman is speaking out, and she's just like very millennial, very in terms of being incredibly direct. Like, oh no, he wanted to sleep with me. Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah. and he like, weaponized my story of sexual assault in order to have an angle to sleep with me. That's what it was. And all the newscasters are like, but do you think you might have misinterpreted? And she's like, no, that's exactly what it was. But he's weaponizing also the fact that he's like, he gets it. He's woke. He's an ally. One of his family members was also assaulted. So he knows, and her story resonated with, him because of his family member and He like, they've made strides in the governor's office against sexual harassment. And it's just, that is the worst to me about it, where it's like weaponizing a little bit of the gray area that I think the Me Too movement has brought up, which is like, what, you can't even smile at a lady. And he's like, see, exactly. I'm the actual ally. You just want to like witch hunt, cancel everybody.
I kiss people on the mouth. I put my hand under their shirt and cup their breasts in the way that Italians traditionally do.
Exactly. It's a hand gesture. I don't know where they're going. They gotta, that's your butt. Okay. It's wrong. It's fucked up. All right. We got to move on. This was the week where white nationalist Tucker Carlson took his Fox News show on the road. No, not to Texas to see the devastating effects of the virus that he's downplayed, not even to Disneyland to blow the whistle on the so-called woke jungle cruise. He went to Hungary to do a puff piece on President Viktor Orban and began to explain to his audience why a rejection of liberal democracy is actually where it's at right now, and to further prime them for neo-fascism. Now, remember, Viktor Orban is a xenophobe, ultra-nationalist. He's called multiculturalism an illusion. He said Muslims are invaders. He's called terrorists. He said that all terrorists are migrants. He's cracked down on democratic rule. He's currently ruling by decree, took away funding from cities that didn't vote for him, essentially, what Trump has always wanted to do, and where the opposition came to power. He's dismantled public universities, specifically ones funded by the Hungarian Jewish billionaire, George Soros, of course. There's a lot to this, but I really want to play it for y'all.
And you decided to...
Okay, so before we start off, so this is Tucker before he interviews Viktor Orban, telling his audience that there are more freedoms in Hungary than there are in the United States. And listen to how he explains that.
And New York City. It is bitter to see the contrast between, say, Budapest and New York City. Let's say you lived in a big American city and you decided to loudly and publicly attack Joe Biden's policies, his policies on immigration or COVID or transgender athletes. If you kept talking like that, you would likely be silenced by Joe Biden's allies in Silicon Valley. If you kept it up, you might very well have to hire armed bodyguards. That's common in the U.S. Ask around.
Okay, what? Who is he talking to? The people who hire armed bodyguards because someone didn't like their tweet. Okay, let's keep going.
But it's unknown in Hungary. Opposition figures here don't worry that they will be hurt for their opinions. Neither, by the way, does the prime minister. Orban regularly drives himself with no security. Thousands of miles.
Okay, stop. Orban drives himself with no security because he's owned the entire opposition. He's clamped down so much, he's not actually afraid of anyone. And the opposition is not afraid because they've just been completely silenced. He's defunded the cities where they've won in. So I don't know what you call that. But anyway, hey, have you ever noticed how Kim Jong-un, he can just like walk through a crowd of North Koreans and like nobody says shit to him? Isn't that crazy? All right. So here he is going into the interview, talking about to Viktor Orban, and once again, pitting him and against a liberal Democrat like Joe Biden.
Migrants appear on your southern border. They appear all over Europe. They stream into Germany. The rest of the EU says, welcome, please come. We can handle it. We're strong enough. Hungary stands alone in saying no. Why? Why did you take a different position on migration from other European countries?
That was the only reasonable behavior. If somebody without getting any permission on behalf of the Hungarian state cross your border, you have to defend your country.
And you think you have a right to do that?
Of course. It's coming from the God, the nature, so all arguments with us. because this is our country, this is our population, this is our history, this is our language, so we have to do that. Many European countries decided to open a new chapter of their own history of the nation. They call it New Society, which is a post-Christian, post-national societies. They believe firmly that if different communities, even huge number of, let's say, Muslim communities, and the original inhabitant, let's say, Christian communities are mixed up,
let's say,
the outcome of this will be good. There is no answer whether it will be good or bad, but I think it's very risky.
I don't
okay, so there he is echoing the same thing. So Muslims, Muslim immigrants, bad. And nationalism, Christian nationalism, good.
I don't think Joe Biden has ever referred to Xi Jinping, for example, who has murdered many of his political opponents famously, as a totalitarian thug. Why would he single you out? And not just you, by the way, the Polish government as well.
The problem is the success. So it's a real challenge for the liberal thinkers. The Western liberals cannot accept that inside the Western civilization, there's a conservative national alternative which is more successful at the everyday life, at the level of than the liberal ones. That's the reason why they criticize us. They are fighting for themselves, not against us. But we are an example that somebody or a country which is based on traditional values, on national identity, based on tradition of Christianity, could be successful, or sometimes even more successful than a leftist liberal government.
No wonder they don't want you to hear what he says. You don't have to watch your country collapse. You don't have to have leaders who hate the population or divide their own people against each other, who make the country, who encourage people to live on the sidewalk and do drugs. It is big.
That's the best part.
My favorite part. My favorite part was right at the top when he was introducing it. He goes, "There's a self-own," where he says, Tucker Carlson says, "You know, these other countries decided that they have immigrants at their borders, that they can accept them because they're strong enough. Hungary, you're not strong enough. You decided to do something different because you're not strong enough to accept immigrants. Tell us about that. Tell us about your weakness."
Totally. Yeah, no, and then at the end, like, oh yeah, encourages you to live on the street and do drugs. Yo, man, Biden's never handed me a J, and for that, I'm mad, actually.
Yeah, you should only do drugs in your suite on Daytona Beach.
Off the ass of a hooker and, excuse me, sex worker. But no, okay, let's just appreciate how utterly evil it is to prime the Fox News audience to laud a dictator, an authoritarian, but more so a xenophobe, a racist, a Christian nationalist like Viktor Orban. Like, that is what is going on. He the full clip, he brings out the map, he tells you where it is, and then he's basically showing this as an example of how, like, look, you can still have a modern society and be like a super Christian conservative right-wing ultra nationalist government. And look, Victor's right. I mean, the successes, the successes of good old Adolf. He had some success for a while. Yeah, there was success there. Didn't end well. Wasn't ultimately a win.
Started strong, weak finish.
Real weak finish there. But like, it's so gross to me that this is the kind of shit that they're feeding into Fox News viewers. And because that is what they want. This is what I keep saying, like, I'm waiting for the Trump variant. You know what I'm saying? Well, I got the Delta variant. Who's going to be the Trump variant? Is it going to be Trump himself back from the dead? Is it going to be Ron DeSantis? Is it going to be Tom Cotton? Is it going to be, one of the other stooges waiting in the wings? Like I'm trying to remember. Matt Gaetz is going to be out of there, but like, that's what they want. Josh Hawley. They want the Orban-like Hungary. They want to clamp down on freedom of the press, an actual freedom of the press. They want what's going on right now in the Central European University, which is the university that George Soros has helped fund, doesn't fully fund it, but it is free, public, is that they have lists of so-called leftist intellectuals, like every fascist and dictatorship has done throughout history, and they've got them on lists. Okay, you're too far left. We're gonna follow you. We're gonna have you here. We're gonna like oust you from your position. We're not gonna give you tenure, whatever it is. It is so scary. It's so fucked up. Look, for everything that you didn't you, like for a little bit, I was like, yeah, Tucker, go do something international. Go learn from abroad. Go, but Hungary, man, of all the places.
Yeah, what's terrifying? I mean, when people talk about this all, it's like there's not likely to be someone else emerging in the United States who is quite as media savvy as Trump. But when we talk about a more competent fascist, which is what you're talking about, and those people that you're thinking about is like someone who has as violent and hateful politics, but are more competent at managing the apparatus of government.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And Orban, honestly, like, is quite determined and yet diplomatic about how he expresses his fascism. Far more so than Trump, of course. That's a low bar, but like he's doing all the Western civilization language that the right, needs and always does when they really mean essentially Nazism.
Right.
Anywho,
on a lighter note,
we got to move to one last story. It's not that light. Before we bring in our guest, I'm super excited to have them. This was the week where the Biden administration decided to keep in place a Trump-era rule on immigration that utilizes the pandemic as a pretext to detain and deport migrants coming into the United States. The majority of those deported under the ruling are those seeking refuge from violence in Central America, but also from Haiti. A lot of Haitian immigrants have been deported back to that whatever that situation is there. And let me just say, you know what brings COVID, if you're concerned about immigrants in a pandemic? Putting them all together in a prison. That will ensure COVID. And in fact, many detention centers have been hit by COVID. But I just wanted to show you the rise in detentions. Yes, there's been more of a rise in an influx in immigration, in migrants, but even under Trump, it was falling. And then Biden has increased that. So, and especially when it comes to asylum seekers, people who have passed their screenings. So the number of asylum seekers who passed their initial screenings leapt from 1,700 in April to 3,400 in late June, making up about 13% of all detainees. Now, a lot of folks are saying, look, we have ankle monitors. There's ways to track people. Why do you need to detain people? And so it's like 2 steps forward, mostly, I don't know, half a step forward and 3 steps back. There's been a little bit of progress. A couple of controversial ICE contracts on detention centers, one in Georgia, another in Massachusetts, were terminated. No other facilities, though, lost their ICE contracts, and Biden has proposed funding for 32,500 immigrant detention beds in his budget, which is a modest decrease from 34,000. It's nothing, right? Which was funded by Trump. One of the biggest ICE detention centers, which is a private detention center, is called WIN. And that is in Louisiana. Southern Poverty Law Center in June called on the Biden administration to cancel its contract, citing abuse, medical neglect, racism, and other mistreatment of the facility, which is tucked in a dense forest in rural Louisiana and ringed by barbed wire. I can speak. It is so upsetting to me. I don't know, Nato, how you read these 2 stories coming down this week, but that this is a week also where people like Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida is blaming COVID on immigrants. This is Ron DeSantis, Florida, where the Delta variant has gone rampant. It has the worst outbreak since the pandemic began is happening right now in Florida. There was something like 24,000 cases on Saturday. He's blaming immigration. And instead of being like, for obviously that's ridiculous. We know, that is a ridiculous claim. But instead of being like, no, it's not coming in through immigrants and I'm going to drop this like draconian immigration rule that was enacted by Trump because of the pandemic to prove that migrants are not bringing COVID, right? They're seeking asylum. He just continues it, which sort of feeds into the narrative that people like Ron DeSantis are even putting out there.
It's so dumb on so many levels. Like, it's to some extent, the Biden administration, like, there's no, there are some things where you can understand what the political challenge is. Do you know what I mean? Like, where they're, it's like we talk about defund the police on here, and there are certainly like a lot of Democratic voters who don't support defunding the police.
Sure.
And so, like, you could sort of understand the political calculus, but it's actually like essential to Democrats' political victory to appeal to immigrant voters. And the fact that, like, there's no, that they keep that they're so unserious about addressing that issue. And then I don't know if you followed it if you watched it on Twitter this week, but like when these stories were coming out about Biden's detention policies, the replies to those stories to Associated Press were like, don't be so, all these liberals, the like pussy hat type people, Yas Queen, et cetera, hashtag the resistance, who, for years with Trump were like, this is not who we are. America doesn't put people in cages. Now that Biden is doing it, are back to, well, give him, he's only been in 6 months. He can only move so quickly on so many things, and it's really hard. And what's he supposed to do? And like the level of apology by liberals, or just like lack of interest,
Yeah.
like you and I both know immigrant rights activists who spent years under Obama raising the alarm about these kinds of human rights abuses going in these detention facilities. And then like a lot of liberals sort of discovered it when Trump was doing and got outraged, and then are back to being like not caring about immigrants at all. It's so cynical.
So cynical. And like, look, yes, are families detained now instead of children without their parents? Yeah. It's called family detention, and it's not nearly as bad, but it's close to as bad. It's still awful. It's still detaining people with young children and kids who are spending, months or years of their lives in these places. And again, like, it is proven, right? These folks are not dangerous. They are not criminals. They are seeking refuge. They have their asylum claims. It's on y'all. It's on the backed up asylum system and the court system. It's on the lack of resources going into that. We pour more into, drones to follow migrants as they cross the border. Yeah. And also, like, I'm sorry. We need to move on, but it is incredibly frustrating because there are so many other ways, and it's documented that this is a community that does not pose a threat to anybody. They are fleeing violence, in fact, and that if it's an ankle bracelet, if it's if it's check-ins, if it's appointments, ankle bracelet still feels very inhuman to me. But there are other ways, and actually, it is proven that those folks, because they are seeking asylum, do show up to their appointments, because they do want to long-term be safe. They don't want to be under threat of deportation. They do want to live here, join families, have a job, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So look,
if the government wants to track them, they don't need ankle bracelets. They just need to give them iPhones.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the rest of us.
Just kidding. We love you,
Mr. The government.
Mr. Tim Cook and the government. I'm a good person. Okay. I am also broadcasting this on YouTube. You guys, we're going to read your comments after, because I feel so bad that I've left our guests hanging, but super excited to have them. They are a national lead organizer with Common Defense and an Army combat veteran who served as an intel analyst within the United States Special Operations Command. Their last deployment was to Afghanistan with SF task forces from 2015 to 2016. They previously organized and managed LGBTQ plus events throughout the East Coast, focusing on repealing the transgender ban and the repeal of DOMA. They hold a degree in anthropology with a minor in community organizing. They've been featured in such outlets as Now This, Huffington Post, and Inkstick Media. Please welcome Esti Lamonaca.
Yay, you got it right. What's going on, Francesca? What's going on, Nato?
Hello.
Thank you for being here.
For sure. Thanks for having me. I'm really grateful to be here right now.
Yeah, it's I guess I wanted to ask you about your organization Common Defense. What is it? Like what I think that you guys are a different kind of veterans organization that
What it do?
What it do though?
What it do though?
Well, it do a lot of stuff, but, we are the largest grassroots progressive veteran membership organization in the nation, which differs from a lot of other organizations because they don't have such a vast and supportive membership as we do. And I'm sure some of them are hitting up the comments right now saying the exact same thing. We started in 2016 as Vets Against Trump. Three of our amazing co-founders, Alex, Perry, and Jose Vasquez, who sends his regards to you, Francesca, started outside in New York City, protesting outside the Trump Tower, and grew it into this incredible organization that we have today. We work on, various campaigns like ending the forever war. We played a huge role in that, a lot of racial justice work, climate justice work, as well as multiple ways that we contribute to ongoing advocacy stuff like LGBTQ plus issues and various other things. But we have over 250,000 amazing supporters, as well as 200 very engaged cadre in all 50 states. And, we're here and we're doing work and we're putting, the veteran narrative out there in spaces where it's either missing or it's a little bit different than let's say our progressive agenda has. And we're here to reclaim, the veteran voice.
Hell yeah. I mean, it must have been incredibly intense and frightening to be serving in the military when Trump became president and when he announced his ban on trans people serving in the military. You being non-binary, how did that impact you? And then more generally, what is it like being non-binary or LGBTQ plus in the military?
I thought you were just going to say in life. I was like, well, it's amazing in life.
Actually really great.
How is it in life to be from the future? My recollection is that the trans ban was lifted under Obama and the implementation was underway, and then so that was like a late term Obama move, and then Trump reversed it
right.
to set it back. And I mean, I fully affirm that trans people should have the right to be murderers also.
Yeah, 100% back you up there.
Thank you.
So I joined after Don't Ask, Don't Tell was already repealed during the end of the Obama administration. And, when Trump sent out those 3 tweets that day, having already been openly serving, I identify as trans non-binary. Most people were aware of that. However, there was no policies or doctrine in place for me to feel comfortable. So they actually allowed me to serve in whichever one of the binary genders that I chose. And that was, just very kind of my unit in general. But once those 3 tweets went out, I, had a huge shift, overhaul of what was, happening to me in the military. No longer was I the fun trans non-binary person. I was, somebody who had a huge target on my back. And that was because basically within those tweets, Trump had allowed people to, be very open about their transphobia and their homophobia. And, even though it wasn't actually passed into law yet, it was very much so just on its way to interrupting the military service, which is funny because the tweet says that, trans people, are going to be banned because we are disruptive to the military service. And it was just what a twist of words and, what the reality actually was there. But I know a bunch of trans soldiers. I was stationed in Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and I worked out of the LGBTQ plus center a lot. Once he tweeted that, we went around with a petition trying to get a bunch of the active duty people on base to sign up, asking, for this not to happen. And we had about 1 or 2 successful days before somebody sent me a threatening letter saying that if I didn't put a stop to this, that, I was going to be beaten and harassed and all of these things. And, for my safety, we did stop, though I wish I didn't. But it was, positive and negative vibes surrounded me, and I was caught off guard that this was happening from, a commander-in-chief that I swore to, defend and obey his orders. And I couldn't follow that one, obviously.
What was your specific job?
So I was an intelligence analyst for special forces units. We went on multiple deployments, and I was basically there just supplying them anything that they needed to know, tracking units and other groups around on the ground.
And how did gender have to help your work analyzing intelligence for special forces?
My gender really helped me. They say the best intel analysts are trans non-binary people.
I've always heard that.
Yeah. So it's like, I think it's definition, actually. No, it's, I have always been somebody who has
beer before liquor, never sicker.
Yeah.
Trans non-binary intelligence analysts, hella good.
Yeah, for sure. I've always moved up fast within, my roles throughout my lifetime, and within the military, it was the same. And people trusted me. I was a good soldier. I actually went to a school where you become a sergeant, and for the first time ever in that school, I won every single award, and I, swept the floor, and people were always amazed by me, and saw how good of a leader I was, and how much I, was just a great soldier overall. And deploying overseas, none of that changed. My battle buddies, my people I deployed with, could look to, both sides of them. And if I was next to them, just trust that I was going to be able to get the job done. And, that I was not trying to disrupt anything except with maybe some fun songs and funner colors than our boring camo. But
I wanted to ask you, obviously, Common Defense being a progressive veterans organization that does call out and work against, endless war. How do you square that in terms of, being against a lot of U.S. foreign policy and a lot of what the military has come to represent? Let's be real, with the endless war ever since 9/11 and before, and also still organizing within that space for LGBTQ plus rights and that kind of equity.
Yeah, I think, just like a quick foreign policy in itself is very dark and cynical. And, we've overthrown so many governments and destroyed people's homes and lives. And, being part of the anti-war movement in itself is an ongoing effort that we are very much still working on within Common Defense, especially as far as we're supporting, obviously, the repeal of the authorization of use of military force that came out in 2001. And, just being a part of the LGBTQ plus community and doing this work in of itself is challenging, because a lot of people will even question my veteran status. I look young. I don't look like the normal veteran. And being able to, come here and be part of this progressive organization has allowed me to find my space in the veterans world. I denounced my vet status when I got out of the military. I had wanted nothing to do with politics. And it wasn't until I found Common Defense that I finally found my home. And, there's a bunch of other folks just like me, and I can look at our meetings and see people who look like me, who sound like me. And so, yeah, it's great.
Because I think what Nato was saying, obviously joking, but the idea that, I think that for a lot of folks on the left where we're like, well, we don't see the military as a space to kind of make better, because we don't often agree with what the U.S. military is doing around the world. And yet that's where you have, the lack of attention, the lack of seeing that from the left and from progressives as an organizing space, then leads to massive amounts of harm being done to soldiers who are serving. And that there can be a vision for a less belligerent force and less occupational force that the U.S. military currently serves. So.
Definitely, for sure. I think that within the military itself, people are very well aware of, the troubles that we have, but the fact that it's not talked about in any sort of media on the regular, unless it is something that usually involves higher ranking people or, Congress members themselves, the military is often swept under the rug, especially enlisted soldiers. And I think that is such, a thing for people to say, I'm here and I support the military. And if I come up and I walk up to them and I say, guess what? I'm a trans non-binary veteran. They're going to be like, F you, because I don't.
Military.
Yeah, not that military, right? So you can't say that you support the military and all soldiers when you first off don't even really know what's going on, and secondly, you don't actually support all soldiers. And there's so much corruption within just the military and within its funding, just everything that has been like recently kind of dug up of the trillions of dollars that have been spent on this endless war overseas. And now people are, depending on what's in the news, people are either, oh yes, gung ho, go to war, military, or no, get back, stay home. We should disband the military entirely. So it's really
you are like a glitch in like the cognitive dissonance it takes for a right winger to understand like your identity and role and like ideology. It's just like what do you mean? Like
there's a comedian who had a very funny joke earlier on in the Iraq War. His name is Yoram Bauman, where he would be like, anti-war people would be like, bring the troops home, and then people would be like, how dare you undermine the war effort? And they'd be like, okay, leave the troops there. No, not that either. Esti, can I ask, like, what can you tell us a little bit about sort of your personal trajectory? Like, what was the point at which your own critique of the military developed? Like, what was the turning point for you personally?
Good question. So, a lot of folks who join the military join right out of high school, and it's because, they don't have anything lined up in their path. And there is like a, high school to military pipeline that specifically targets a lot of youth of color, Black and brown males specifically, trying to put them on the front lines of, wars, these endless wars. I actually joined later in life because I had always thought that I wanted to make a bigger impact and be a hero. And I thought, what better way to do that than join the U.S. Army? Actually, I tried to join the Air Force, but they said I had too many tattoos. So I don't know why that wasn't like a red flag already, but I was like, okay. But yeah, so I joined the Army when I was 24 years old. And, within the first 2 weeks, I realized that I had made a giant mistake. And that is because I saw a fellow soldier drawing swastikas in what we had, like Green Book, our notebook. And I told the drill sergeant about it because we were at basic training. And he said, it's fine. He's going to be a cook anyways. So, don't worry about him. And that was when I knew.
That's like the least safe place for a Nazi, maybe. I don't know. Oh, you do not want them cooking up anything.
Nazis are known for their cooking.
Soup Nazi.
Yeah, actual literal soup Nazi. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No worries. So yeah, but I will say that was like my first inkling that, this is not what I expected it to be. I thought I was going to go overseas and help people and save people and, make the world a better place. And on my first deployment, when I went overseas, I quickly found out that, we are there as cogs in this machine that is, the military industrial complex. And I mean nothing to them. My body means nothing to them. And I am here fighting these endless wars and ruining people's homes and watching innocent people die, so that people can benefit and profit off of me. Mm-hmm. And that's when I wanted to put an end to it. And I tried to get out. I did not know about trying to get out any other way except, getting high or something and getting caught on a drug test, which I did not do. But I did end up getting injured overseas. So that was my out.
Wow. You're not a conscientious objector, are you?
No, I'm not. Many people I know are, but I was not. I did not know about it, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really, I'm not saying you would have been, but that is a common thread from a lot of anti-war vets that I've spoken to who didn't know that it was an option. To become a conscientious objector. But I guess I wanted to ask you about, given like this is something that I've been dying to talk to a vet about, which is January 6th, right? And the number of like former military personnel that were in that crowd. And in the insurrection, storming the Capitol. How did that Did that make sense to you? Was it weird to you? Was it an outgrowth of some of the divisions you already saw kind of forming, among rank and file when you were serving?
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say it was weird or surprised by any means. I think I saw it within the military too, that,
Was the Nazi cook there?
Yeah.
I haven't been able to identify him yet, but I'm looking. Yeah, but this is like a prime example of the extremism, within the military. And I think it's 1 in 10, or maybe it's like 1 in 5 now of those charged have been identified as veterans or having military ties. And,
Wow.
some of us take our combat and wartime training and, leave it behind when we get out of the military. And I guess some of us use it to storm the Capitol and threaten elected officials. I'm not really sure, what exactly was going through all of their minds, but I am not surprised. And I think that, people who use their war tactics and trainings to, attack anywhere on this country that they swore to defend are just not patriots. I wouldn't say that they are, they represent any sort of veteran identity that me and, the thousands of other vets I know represent. We have our, values that we all knew. We had our oath that we all took, and that is not reflective of veterans, I would say, in my opinion. These people were extremists. They were terrorists.
So, a lot of times people, it's like a lot of us don't have any connection to the military. And a lot of us see foreign policy as something that happens to somebody else. And so it's like maybe you feel bad about it, or mostly you try to think about it. And so could you talk some about why the military and American foreign policy is a domestic concern that people who have no personal connection to the military should care about?
Yeah, I mean, first off, I'll just start with funding in general, that the amount of funding that goes into the military of itself that could be used for other things such as infrastructure here in the United States, or, people who are struggling to pay rent right now and eat during this national pandemic, kids who can't afford to go to college. There's a huge push for more, foreign policy work that doesn't necessarily need to happen, and a huge amount of funding that goes into it that should be going elsewhere. But I think that people don't realize that just because things aren't happening here on the home ground, that there's not, threats that are happening every single day of their lives, whether that is, someone is planning something here in the United States or overseas to attack the United States, and, what is going on a daily basis where people are collecting intel and disrupting things that could really affect people. And I think also living in New York City, as I do, I've seen people come from all over to Times Square and say things in Times Square like, oh, this is where, somebody almost bombed it recently, and taking selfies and talking of that nature. And it's like a joke to them. But war isn't a joke. Just because we aren't necessarily at a combative war here in the United States, it does not mean that there's, other wars that we are not fighting, that we are ignoring, here also.
Mm. Our longest war just came to an end, actually. And, I have a lot of thoughts on that, but I know you did serve in Afghanistan. And I just wanted to get your thoughts on the wind down and finally the exit of troops from that country. And what Common Defense is calling on for the Biden administration to do. Maybe you mentioned the AUMF or DOMA.
The ALMF.
Not DOMA. DOMA is don't. What's DOMA again?
Defense of Marriage Act.
Oh, I was like DOMA.
We're still calling, yeah.
I was like, I don't know why I confused that with the military thing. Forget what I just said.
You're confusing DOMA and DADIT.
Yeah, and DARPA.
DARPA, yeah.
Something? No, it's not. It's not anything. It was UMF. It was the UMF that I was wondering about. Tell me about.
I haven't heard of DARPA, but I like it. We're all for it, whatever it is.
DARPA's scary. That's where the robots are the next country we invade and occupy is going to be done all by those dancing robots, and they're going to be
wasn't DARPA some plot point in The Americans? Wasn't it some Soviet software that they were studying? No,
DARPA, I don't know what the acronym stands for, but it is a special unit of intelligence, military intelligence, the cutting edge of new technology used for war. Yeah. That's what.
Sorry, Esti, we got distracted.
But
no, it's okay. I like the robot,
Afghanistan, yeah,
Space Force.
for sure.
Yeah, so I the last time I was there was 2016. I cannot tell you how excited not only that I have been to work with Common Defense to help end this forever war, but that it is actually very close to an end now. I think the new estimate is by August 31st, all U.S. troops will be off the ground there. Besides, supporting the repeal of the AUMF and having Congress or helping Congress, reclaim their constitutional authority to conduct oversight of U.S. foreign policy. And independently debate whether to use military force, I think is like a huge next step that we support. But we also are hoping to get all of the interpreters evacuated as quickly as possible. Last week, I think the first round of Afghan interpreters came home, and I think came to the U.S., and I think it was less than 1% of the total that they're expecting to bring over. And they're expecting that they're going to be bringing folks over even after U.S. troops have departed. And I just want to make sure that they are all safe and that they, get here quickly and that we can all welcome them, with open arms for what they have helped us do overseas in this forever war. And, so that's kind of our next step. But yeah, I am going to feel so much relief once everyone has withdrawn from Afghanistan. The amount of just the entire costs of war, the things I've seen, the people I've lost, that too many of us have lost, it's about long overdue that we are pulling out of there. There's nothing more that we could achieve that we haven't already tried or already done. So I'm very grateful that this is finally happening, and Common Defense is responsible for it. There's a front page New York Times article we framed in our office that says, fighting ending the forever war, using our language. So it's awesome.
That's excellent.
Congratulations. It's so dizzying to think about that, you were talking about people enlisting out of high school, and that means that there are people newly enlisted in the American military now who were born when the war in Afghanistan began.
Right. Yeah. I was in 5th grade, and I'm born and raised in New York City. I remember that smoke. I remember that day. I remember that feeling and watching people run and scream and going to see the aftermaths of it. And never would I have thought that years later I'd be fighting in the same war.
Yeah.
The same war, the same wrong war.
Right.
I mean, they were both wrong, Iraq and Afghanistan. I wanted to ask just sort of final thoughts, big picture stuff, like in a dreamlike, futuristic, progressive utopia, call it whatever you want. I would call it democratic socialism, whatever. What do you imagine the U.S. military looks like? What's the role? Let's say we divert money. Let's say we wind, now I'm painting what I'm like. I like, but
start by describing the more fabulous uniforms. By the way,
yeah. Start by describing what color are we wearing.
Yeah. Depends on the season. You never know. Yeah. But no, I agree.
Can you have camouflage sequins? How does it work?
Let's talk about it. No, that defeats the whole purpose, NATO.
This is a lack of education about the U.S. military. But no. But no, I definitely, agree with your first sentiments. I think that, the military has this awesome opportunity. I mean, the DOD, takes a huge part in humanitarian assistance and aid, and utilizing that as like the first and foremost reason for the military. I think going into anywhere thinking that, this is for war, this is to fight in a war, is already going in with the wrong mindset. But that's just, a quick overview. And I think there's things that we can, help with as far as like starving countries and natural disasters that occur that the U.S. military would be great for.
Yeah.
But there's a lot that has to change, the extremism, the racism, the sexism, the homophobia, all of the things that go into what sadly the U.S. military is today. I'm not proud to say I serve sometimes. I'm embarrassed because I know what, it is about, and I know what happens. And you see, these articles coming up about, Vanessa Guillen and everything that happened with, around the MJIA. And it's just shocking to me that people still that's already, old news. People still aren't talking about it, but there's still not a real fix. So we, first and foremost, we need to put policies in place and hold people accountable, no matter what rank they are, and get them out of the military, those that need be, and have more extensive background checks of those coming in, because a lot of people do think that the military is just a war creating machine, and creating those wartime soldiers, and that's why they join, and that's not why someone should join, because that's not what we're about, and that's not what we should be about.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know why my mind is going to you guys are like the Jake Sullys of Avatar, where you're joining the resistance on Pandora. I'm just going to talk about the movie Avatar because I like it. And you don't want to colonize. You want to live in harmony and learn. I see it. I see that. No, I've obviously, as someone who's politicized around, Afghanistan and Iraq wars and 9/11, I'm all about this, and I think veterans are never listened to enough. Truly, they're used as props. They're never given, actual, autonomy and sort of like their own agency. So, thank you so much for coming on. Is there anything else you wanted to add that we didn't get into?
No, I just would love to say that if you are, a veteran listening or watching it live right now, to check out Common Defense. You can go to commondefense.us/join. Or Twitter is @Common Defense. And if you are a civilian supporter, we love donations as well. But yeah, thank you guys so much for, having me on, and appreciate both of you for this awesome conversation that is, too often not talked about.
Absolutely. All right. commondefense.us/join. Thank you so much, Esti. Take very good care. Be well. Thank you so much for fighting this good fight. And yeah, we'll see you again very soon.
Yeah.
Oh, I just cut you off. I'm so sorry. And thank you all for being here, you guys. Thank you for sticking around, for joining the conversation. Thank you for telling me what DARPA stands for once again. Let me scroll back to it. I forgot. It doesn't matter. It's bad. I don't like it. Defense, Activia, people bad. Ow. I don't know. I don't even know things anymore. I want to read some of your comments. Thank you so much. To Kedge Dragon, on climate change, I trained as a forest fighter in Washington. I've been through tornadoes, floods, undertow. All in all, I'm hoping to die healthy and happy at home. Okay. Thank you, Kedge. Good luck. Thanks to you and your work. Hopefully we can all die happy and at home, when the time is right. On Governor Cuomo, Roosevelt, Republicans of America, imagine being the staffer paid to put this clip together. Yuck. Oh my God. Yeah. Cause you'd have to comb through the extra cringy photos where the person's clearly not consensually being kissed. RBF Dragon, I'm the same person in public that I am in private. Okay, so you're a creep and don't respect boundaries at all times. Cool. On Tucker Carlson, constrained agency. If you like Hungary so much, go live there. Honestly. Gary Cooper, Tucker's going to wear out his tongue licking all those fascist dictators' boots. It's true. Yeah, it's like a strong IPA is what the flavor is. Todd Roy, thank you so much for all the work you do, Todd. Tucker is so smug and glib, he doesn't have many in-person guests because they would slap him silly. Yeah, and it was funny to see him be the fluffer. It was funny to see him do the whatever, the just kind of rolling out the red carpet. Oh, I totally blanked on our last segment. I'll get to that. On the Biden administration, Martin Gale, I'm from Guatemala. It's sad. It's a sad reality, but the ICE detention centers are a better quality of life for some people than neighborhoods run by MS-13 or Barrio 18. Why did I say that in Spanish? Guatemala is very evil. I'm sad to say. No, that's true. It's, but that is a low bar. Hey, this is better than, a gang violence. Yeah. Okay. But it's still not good to be held against your will when you have done nothing wrong. You've not committed a crime. And that you have family members most likely that you can join. Terry Berry Zero, Trump is great for granting permission for evil people to act on their nature. Named for Mars, the military is vital for the left to organize in, always has been. Thank you. And JYPZ rocks. GOP doesn't support the troops, they support contractors. Very true. Constrained agency, also the fact that the government abandons us when we leave the service. It breeds a lot of rage, which white nationalists then exploit. Also, some people join the military to be killers. Okay, there's a lot of thoughts in there. Agreed. Also, like the idea that homeless vets is even a thing, like that is even an idea that like often those two words and things go hand in hand is egregious. It's an indictment of the entire military culture and this country in and of itself. You guys, we have one more segment, I think, but I let Esti go, and I wanted Esti to stay, and I feel bad. But NATO, we can do this by ourselves. What do you say?
Sure.
Okay, we've got one final segment. I want everyone to play along. This is going to be great. We've got the Olympics that is currently going on. Really fun events like trampoline. Why? Speed walking. Why? Other weird water polo. I'm just going to keep it 100. I don't like water polo. I don't get it. It's dumb. Thank you. But if we were to be good at an Olympic sport, if we were to get a medal, so good at an Olympic sport that we would get a medal in it, not a current Olympic sport, but anything, any skill, what would it be? This is my Olympic medal. Okay, I once again feel bad that we let our guests go, but what would your Olympic medal be in? I will go first. NATO? I think I would get the bronze. I would get the silver in countertop wiping. I'm very good at wiping countertops. I see spills. I wipe them up. I'm really good. A lot of people don't even notice those things. I'm very good at that. I would also, I think, get gold in what I want to say is kvetching, but it's like, is kvetching also fault finding? For me, I'm like, hey, what's the problem? Really, it's bitching. I would just get gold in bitching. Whatever situation you're in, I will find your fucking flaws, because that is the happy place that I live.
Oh, you would get the gold in being critical?
Yes.
Put Matt on.
That he would beat me?
No, I want to hear his take on that self-assessment.
Oh, he would 100% agree.
Yeah.
He gets the gold in like worrying and like future tripping.
Uh-huh.
He gets that. I get the gold in being critical. I am, once again, very critical Virgo, very particular. Nothing is ever good enough, including myself. Final thing, I would get a gold in, or maybe a silver in. I make my own eye cream. That's right, people. Your girl makes her own DIY vitamin E infused with coffee grounds and green tea eye cream that she got the recipe to because she looked up all the natural ingredients in the expensive eye creams that cost $180 that she was not going to buy, and then ordered them all off, some herb.com place. And then
someherb.com.
Someherb.com.
Uh-huh.
And then mix it all together in a little bain-marie. And it's great. It's amazing. It works on the puffy circles, the wrinklies.
So what
I'm
you're
so
saying
good
is
at it.
that you're freebasing eye cream because you're cheap.
Yes.
Uh-huh. Cool.
Gold in eye cream freebase.
All right.
NATO?
Napping. Gold in napping.
Really?
Yeah.
How do you do it? How does it just come naturally to you? Do you have to prep?
I am I'm bad at long naps, but I'm super good at lying down for 15 minutes, closing my eyes, having one REM cycle, and then being ready to go. I literally did it. Do you remember right before the show where I texted you and I was like, hey, can I be on in 10 minutes?
Yes.
I took a 6-minute nap.
Jesus, I hate you. I'm so jealous. I am so jealous
I was
of that.
tired. I was like, I just knew that I was tired because I stayed up late last night watching Beverly Hills Cop on cable because it was on.
Strong. Okay.
And then I was tired, and so I was like, I would like a nap right now.
And a 6-minute nap. Damn.
6-minute nap.
You actually got a REM. You actually fell asleep in that time.
Yes. I felt rested, so that's good stuff.
Okay, what else?
What else that am I super good at? So my wife would say I have a few useful skills: copy editing, good at removing excess words from a text.
Ooh.
I'm also good. I'm not particularly butch, but I'm good. I could remove a dead possum from the crawl space under our house. So I'm good at that.
Dead possum removal needs to be an Olympic sport. Like,
Yeah.
oh, he's really got him. Oh, and
really
this one.
Good form there.
This one is entered in rigor mortis, and the head is fallen off. Okay, he's got to go back for the head.
The carcass is exploded in his hands. He gripped too hard, and the carcass exploded.
You know, you think you want to pull by the tail, but you actually don't.
You actually don't.
You got to get the torso.
Yeah.
I think that's where he went wrong.
Yep.
Gross. From the comments, eating chocolate chip cookies, good. Procrastination, eating cheese, a lot of eating, vacuuming, ignoring laundry.
I see. And our friend Haya says silver and ratatouille.
Ooh, oh, that's hard. Ratatouille is like real hit or miss. So silver's good.
Yeah, I think the key is that you have to cook all the vegetables separately.
Right.
Before
I know.
You mix them back together. And so it's like a lot of potchking.
It's a lot. Potch, what does that mean? Like
it's a lot of hassle. A lot of
different bowls. Yeah, when you mix it all together, it just ends up tasting like the same mush.
Yeah. Right.
And the cook time is different. Okay. Troll hunting, says our mod Chuck Diesel. Thank you so much for troll hunting. And thank you guys for being here. Nato Green, where can people find your lovely work?
People at Nato Green on Twitter, Mr. Nato Green on Instagram. I have a couple albums out. The best way to buy albums to support the arts is on Bandcamp, where I get the most royalties. Go on Bandcamp and buy both of my albums, the Nato Green Party and the Whiteness album. Laughter Against the Machine on Means TV, and which is the country's first and only post-capitalist subscription streaming video service. And whatever, find me out in these streets organizing the workers.
Hell yeah! Thank you so much, Nato. I hope to bless you with a T-shirt very, very soon. And
can you help me, because I have a problem where like all of my T-shirts get little holes where my belt buckle is. So I need some special.
You want me to help you with that?
I have a man problem where I get holes in my T-shirts. So I need for
where your belt buckle is, because it like pinches in.
I guess, yeah. It's a big problem.
Okay, dude. All right, this is an offline conversation.
Okay.
I don't know if it requires one of my Cuomo gestures.
Yeah, maybe you could just touch my face uncomfortably.
I will kiss it away. All right. Take very good care, Nato. Be well.
Okay, good night.
Bye. And thank you guys for being here. Thank you for your super chats. Robert, Rialan N, Martingale, Carrie Venus, Mr. K. And to the new Twitch subs during the show, Thunderous Dragon, Micro Kimmy, Reaper 714, Madrio 17, Willie Gus again, Calico Mo, Kathy 61, Hippie Spot, and Dragon 007. I love you guys. Thank you so much to our new patrons. If there are any, patreon.com/Bitchuation Room. Go there, support this show. We don't have funders, but you pay for this content. Thank you so much. And that supports my amazing team, Rebecca Rufer, Ellie Hoffman, Max Inhoff, and Alexandra Ornes. We stream every Sunday, 5/8 Eastern on YouTube and Twitch. Next week, we got a big episode because it is number 100. That's right. And remember, guys, fight the power, fuck the patriarchy, and don't just bitch about it. Be about it.